Hello, and welcome to session 6 of the Digital Marketing Management Essentials Certificate course. In this session, we're going to take a look at developing effective digital customer journeys that drive results. Let's get started. All right. In this session, we're going to have the following goals for the students. First, we want to introduce the concept of the user journey funnel. Very important concept to understand. Second, I want you to understand the difference between first and third-party digital platforms with the strengths and weaknesses of each. Third, I want to provide you a basic checklist of the user experience design best practice that can be used to evaluate the customer journey. This is very, very helpful to understand the user experience design best practices. And then fourth, I'm going to introduce the concept of content personalization and something known as A/B testing. And lastly, I want to give you a look at different technology tools and platforms that will make asset management much easier. All right, let's kick into the module concept 1. So in this concept, we're going to understand the concept of what is called the user journey funnel. All right. So the main point that you have to understand is that driving media to your website or your app or your campaign landing page, it's only a small part of the key to success in your digital marketing effort. Everything we've learned up so far has been about media, driving media, but you got to drive that traffic, okay, when people click, you got to drive them somewhere. And, where you send them needs to be optimized. So it's critical to perfect the customer journey of your website or your app or any digital touch point where you're going to send that traffic. And let's explain why. All right. So you don't just want traffic from your clicks. That's one thing. But you want to drive some type of conversion, some type of action after they click on the ad. Inside of Facebook or Google or search or wherever it may be, after they click, you want them to drive some action or conversion. Ideally, you want to turn them into a customer long term, but that may not be the first action on the website. Or you may want them to complete a specific goal on a website or landing page. So let's take a look at some of these goals right now. All right. So in the last session, we reviewed the concept of conversion rate. Okay, and what is total users who come in and take a desired action divided by the total visits to your website. All right? So this could be defined as many different things. So conversion is a targeted, accomplished action, but that could be buy now or book now. Okay? That could also be taking some type of high value content that you want to provide to them. Register now for something, download for something, sign up to get something, submit to get something. All right, another call to action, very common, are all your different social icons and your different social platforms that are known as your third-party platforms, which we'll review shortly. You may want people to click on one of those items. Or in the world of chat today, you can embed all of your different chat platforms within your website or your landing page. This can also be one of the what's defined as a conversion. Okay, some specific target action that you want them to take. All right, so it's critical that your website is optimized to be able to maximize the conversion rate towards one of these actions. It could be multiple actions, and you can tag multiple actions on your website and optimize towards that. All right, but this is the basic definition of a conversion that can mean many different things, and you have to define that ahead of your campaign and while you're in the customer journey design phase of your campaign. So in this slide, we're going to present the concept of the leaky bucket and the importance of making sure that the customer journey is smooth and optimized. To make this point, I'm going to show you two scenarios, one without optimization and one with optimization. All right, let's first take a look at the customer journey without optimization. You have 100,000 visitors to the website. And from those 100,000, maybe 20% become a prospect. And you can define a prospect could be someone that stays on the site for a minute or longer. And then from those prospects, maybe you have 5,000 leads. Someone that either fills in a lead form or maybe someone that adds a product to their basket, if this isn't the case of e-commerce. And then from those, you have 200 sales. And if you have 10,000 bought per sale, you produce 2 million bought in total revenue. So you can see here you have the customer user funnel from 100%, 20% conversion to that stage, 25% to that stage, and 4% to that stage. So in each area of each phase of the funnel, you can have a conversion step. Now let's take a look at an example with optimization. So the idea is that we're going to make a few improvements on the site that can improve each of the drop-off points in the journey. So again, you have the same 100,000 visitors. From those 100,000 visitors, this time 30% become a prospect. And from those 30,000, you have 8,000 leads, so that's a 26% jump as opposed to 25. So just small incremental, just 1%. And then from those 8,000 leads, 560 become a sale. So from 4% to 7%. So if you do that, you're going to have a total of 5.6 million baht in revenue. So you're more than doubling, almost tripling the revenue by making these small incremental changes. So the goal of a professional digital marketer is to be able to understand the user journey and optimize the journey to improve the drop-off in each point in the funnel. Now I want to introduce you a tool that you can use to do this, and it's called Google Analytics. Now we're going to have a much deeper dive into Google Analytics in the master's class. We have a full session dedicated to Google Analytics. For this session, however, I'm just going to show you one of the features, which is the, essentially it's the funnel and the journey funnel. You can set this up inside of Google Analytics so that you can visualize. So you see here it says shopping behavior analysis. Okay, this is underneath conversions, e-commerce, and shopping behavior. So you can set this up and then you can understand what is the conversion of each step in the funnel. So in step 1 here, these are people that came to the site. So it's all sessions or visits. And then from the 64,178, you had essentially 71% drop off as 17,773 continued to the next step, or 27% conversion rate in step 1, as you can see right here. Then from step 1, they view a product. Great. So they're seeing your product, they're interested in it. Are they going to add it to cart? From add to cart, of those, only 6,012 added to cart. All right, so essentially, again, 9.3% of the total visitors got to this stage, or a 68% drop off from step 2 to step 3. From step 3 to step 4, now we're looking at people going from the cart to then starting the checkout process. And from there, again, 3,100, right? So again, additional drop off. And then from step 4 to step 5, the people that actually completed the transaction and came to the thank you page, right? 116. So from the original 64,000, you had around 0.18% total sessions that had a transaction. So the idea would be to improve the drop-off in each of these stages, okay? And decrease this drop-off number here. All right, so it's a great tool that you can use and really understand, make changes, monitor how the changes are doing, and know if you're on the path in the right direction. So this brings us to the end of the first module concept. Again, understanding what is the customer journey funnel, just getting the definitions down, all right? Hopefully you understand these key things now. So I want to do a little test of your knowledge, and I need you to please complete this assignment. So what you need to do is download the customer journey funnel spreadsheet from the assignment in Blackboard, and I'm going to upload that for you. It's a spreadsheet, and in that spreadsheet, you then need to enter the session data from slide 8 into the original journey, column C. Then you can assume that each step in the journey improves by 5%. So if you fill that in correctly, then you should be able to answer the following questions. What's the total improvement in revenue that can be achieved? And what is the increased percentage in sales if the revenue per transaction is 5,000 baht? All right, so this will give you the foundation of how to analyze a customer funnel and understand drop-off and what a small improvement can do in your overall revenue. Best of luck with this assignment. Once you complete it, please upload the files back into Blackboard. Best of luck. Welcome to the next module in this session. In this module, we're going to introduce the concept of first-party digital assets versus third-party digital assets. Let's get started. When developing your web presence strategy, it's important to understand the difference between what's called owned first-party assets and third-party platforms that you can lease or use, is a way to put it. So first we'll look at owned. So owned first-party digital assets are assets that are developed using the brand's own internal domains. Let's review what we mean by this. We'll give some examples. So the obvious first one would be something known as what I call brand website. Examples of this are corporate website or an informational website. Corporate website is another term for it, but it's essentially where you have information such as about the company, about products, history of the brand, member programs, and more. The next owned first-party asset could be your e-commerce website. This is a website where you can sell your products. So if a brand develops their own e-commerce website and sells directly, then this is known as direct-to-consumer model. That may make sense for your brand. Today, it's easier than ever to develop your own e-commerce website using platforms like Shopify, and we'll review that at the end of this session. All right, so e-commerce website. The next would be an app. So perhaps it makes sense for you to develop an app. If you do so, most likely you'll have to do that on 2 mobile platforms, Apple iOS App Store and then the Google Android Play Store. But before investing in an app, there are many considerations your brand would need to take. And I'm going to review this in more detail on the next slide. And last but not least, in first-party digital assets would be your campaign microsites. So if you're going to run a campaign, like a short-term campaign, you may not have a permanent website, but something known as a campaign microsite. All right, so these are all your first-party digital assets. Now let's take a look at third-party platforms. So third-party platforms actually allow your brand to partner with them and distribute through them. So Facebook page, that's the obvious one. So Facebook allows you to set up business pages. They have the largest global reach than any other platform, and it's really essential for any business to have a Facebook business page. Facebook offers a standard module that includes things like About Us, you can post things, the services that you have offered, you can put your videos in there, and many other standard marketing features. And they're also introducing more and more tools for e-commerce in the future. All right, so particularly if you're an e-commerce brand or you have a product, then you should definitely consider what are known as e-commerce marketplaces. This includes things like Lazada, Shopee, JD Central, and more. These platforms allow a seller to create a mini store inside their site or inside their mall, like an online mall. The great benefit of joining these platforms is that they already have over 15 million monthly members and millions of people who come to buy things every single day. That's the plus side. The challenge, though, it's tough to stand out. Okay, but you get to have a store inside of their site at very low rent and sometimes free. You just have to pay a commission. So these are e-commerce marketplaces. The next would be Line. In Thailand, it's a must-have. We've already covered this. One additional thing to know, however, is that Line allows brands to develop full websites or e-commerce sites. You can actually put your entire business inside of Line. They have an open API which allows you to develop on top of. All right? And they recently launched something called Line My Shop, and you can see an example of that there, which allow businesses to sell quickly and easily inside of Line at no cost. Again, this is also ideal for any company who sells a product, whether it be a physical product or something like food. And last but not least, YouTube. YouTube is less important for things like e-commerce, but it's very important to educate your customer and engage with them. We'll cover this in great detail during the master's class on YouTube. I haven't mentioned a few other platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. These can be appropriate for certain types of businesses, so definitely to consider. But for mass retail to consumer, these are the major platforms that you'd want for e-commerce. So in conclusion, a brand has to make decisions. What assets to invest in? So when you're first starting, you need to make a decision about your asset allocation. If you have unlimited budget, then you can do everything. But in many cases, that's not reality. So you have to be strategic. So it should always include a combination of both first and third-party assets. You need to choose wisely. Depending on your type of business, you can make the best choice. And we'll talk more about that during the exercise. All right? Okay, now I said I was gonna talk a little bit in more detail about app and the things that you need to consider before building an app. All right? So, let me first just define a brand app, because this isn't, if you're representing a brand, then it's called a brand app as opposed to a commercial app. So if you're a brand, whether you offer a service or a product, consider a brand app. And the definition of this is it's developed by a brand advertiser with the intention to build brand and or help fulfill a service, right? Like sell your product. One thing to consider though is whether you should invest in building your own app or building inside of something like Line, which I mentioned earlier. Line's an open platform and lets your companies, build right inside there. All right, so anyway, these are two examples of brand apps. You can see Singha there. And, essentially they created an app that featured different content. So it wasn't about selling a product. It was about content so that they could build brand. And then you have Pizza Company. They built an app, but that's all about selling their product. Right, so here are two examples of how brands used an app. All right, so again, I'm going to provide an additional checklist on what to consider if you should build an app. All right, first thing you need to ask yourself is your brand unique? What is unique on the app that I can offer that the user would download the app for, right? People have so many apps, they don't want to download another app. So what's going to be unique about your app that they have to download? Second question you need to ask is, do I have a reason to talk with my customers on a routine basis? If you're the type of product or service which is very infrequent, like once a year, then people aren't going to really have a need to communicate with you via an app. If you're a coffee, like Starbucks, you buy every single day, it makes a lot more sense to have an app for the loyalty purposes. The next question you have to ask is, could I have the same functionality if I build inside of Line instead? So before you invest in an app, maybe you can build the same functionality inside of Line, right? You will end up saving money and you can have instant access to their millions of customers. So the top reasons a corporation such as a product or service, mentioned like Singha or Pizza Company, the top reasons that they should consider an app would be the following. E-commerce, like I mentioned earlier, the TPC example there. Loyalty. So all their customers can track their purchases and get points or special rewards. So I belong to a lot of loyalty programs where I go quite often, so I'll download the app. Makes sense. Gamification. Maybe you can build exciting content or put games inside there. People love to play games. So that's an example kind of what Singha did. And lastly, if you need to execute some core business function, it may make sense to have an app. So payment, e-wallet, Starbucks is a great example. Or a digital key. Maybe some hotels like Marriott, they've developed digital keys. So you can just check in with the app, and then your key to enter your room can be accessed via the Marriott app. And lastly, like member service clubs. So like Toyota, SE Asset, which is a real estate company, they may have post-sale service. And again, you want to be able to allow them to access you very quickly. It may be frequent depending on the type of service. So these are the things to consider when having an app, right? Tread carefully because an app can be quite expensive. You may waste a lot of money. All right, so that brings us to the end of this module. So again, in this module, we introduced the concept of first-party and third-party digital platforms. So developing your digital assets is critical to being able to effectively market online. You may want to start small. You may be a small startup or a service, or a large company with a product. Your strategy around what platforms to invest in will vary. It's not one size fit all. So in this exercise, what I want to do is get you to think about different scenarios, different businesses, and what their strategy should be. So first question is, if you're a food delivery business with a maximum budget, so unlimited budget, like a Pizza Hut or Kentucky Fried Chicken, what first-party and third-party platforms would you invest in? Second example is, what if you're an FMCG like Johnson & Johnson, AccuView? Again, you should have big budgets. What first-party and third-party platforms would you invest in? And lastly, if you're a small company like a cosmetic product with a small budget, maybe you're makeup or lipstick that just launched, what platforms would you invest in? Again, that's more for e-commerce, right? So take a look at these three examples. I look forward to your thoughts. Don't be scared on your answer. There's no wrong answers. This will spark a great discussion, which we'll have during the weekly tutorial. Best of luck. Thank you. Welcome to the next module in this session. In this module, we're going to provide you a list of best practices for user experience design. It's going to be a nice toolkit that you can use to make sure that your customer journey and the experience of that journey for your user is optimized completely. But before we get into the tips, I first want to present the concept, the design concept and principle known as UX and UI. So UX stands for user experience, and it really deals with the psychology and emotion. Right? It literally describes a user's experience while using a website. Was it frustrating? Was it seamless? Did they complete the action that they came there to complete? So to illustrate this concept of UX, I want to show you this video, and it's really about the customer experience. Now, this is in the offline world, but it's to give you a good analogy that you can use to understand what is customer experience or user experience.
Ready? There's a space for you now, Joel. Pardon? Yes, monsieur. As soon as you spoke.
So when you think about user experience, you see how easy it was for them to get into the car? That's a great example of user experience. Now let's take a look at UI, which stands for user interface. So when you think about UI, it refers more to the visual elements of a website that allow you to interact with the page. A good example of this are things like menus, buttons, links, and displays. It's a lot like the readout and buttons in your car. So if you can look at this example of a dashboard here for a car, you can see all the buttons and where they're placed. That has a lot to do with the user interface, where things are located, right? So it's UX, UI, this is how they fit together. Just felt it's important for you to understand these concepts because when you're talking about customer journey, these are going to be terms that come up again and again. All right, now let's kick into it. User experience. Tip 1, know who you're designing for and what you are trying to achieve. So it may be that you're trying to target millennials, age 18 to 30. All right, so the design of that site may be different than a different group. Maybe they're used to social icons. Maybe they're used to mobile a lot more, smaller fonts, right? These are the types of things that millennials may be able to react to and respond to in a better way, as opposed to retirees in Florida, right? So they're going to be more PC based. As you can see, they're logging in from a laptop. They're going to require larger fonts, easier to navigate. So think about who you're designing for. That's going to have a lot to do with how you create the layouts. Experience tip number 2, make sure the site is simple and clean and use large photos that can inspire emotion. So this is the example of a yoga website, and you can see it's a large photo, your eyes are drawn to it, and she's performing yoga. You can see that she's passionate, she's involved in the practice. It can inspire some type of emotion. And then you have your large text there, inspiration for joyful living. Learn the method of meditation to gain spiritual soul power. So again, a photo with a strong explanation of what the site is all about. All right, that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, use story to design an emotional experience. Okay, so, using large photos to inspire emotion, that's good, but let's take it one step further. In this tip, we want to use story to design an emotional experience. So to better demonstrate this concept, I'm going to show you the difference between poor design and good design. First, let's take a look at the poor design. Always easier to start with what's not good. All right, so here's an example of a website that sells glasses. When you come to the home page, it's very confusing what they want you to do. All right, there's a large image at the top that talks about free shipping, but it doesn't explain what the website's about. Then there's a video, but it's not clear if they want you to click on the video. There's no call to action of what they want you to click on. Then in very small font on the top, it has linked to sunglasses, relensing, and accessories. Right? That's probably what they want you to click on, but it's so unobvious. It's too small. So if the user is lucky enough to find the link to the sunglasses, then they can actually see the product. But there's no mention of price, brand, or ability to filter. So this is a great example of a design that has very low design measurement scores. Bad experience. All right, now let's take a look at the re-engineered experience. Right away, when you first come to the home page, there's a large full-page image of a person with sunglasses on. This helps inspire emotion, but it also makes it clear that what this website is about. All right, person with glasses. It's simple enough. After the user looks at the woman, then their eyes, they'll look at the call to action. And what is that? The call to action is now very obvious. The end result, right? And then the person clicks and they'll come through. They can purchase glasses. There's a lot more information about the glasses. You see Ray-Ban, price, sorting feature. All right, so here's a fantastic example of how to use story to tell design, and just a great UX UI that will produce results. And in this example, it produced 312% higher usability and satisfaction. Let's take a look at another example. Virgin Atlantic Airlines. Right? So in their original design, it's very traditional, boring. It looks like IBM 1980. Users have to make all the decisions in one place. That's good, but it's a lot of information to take in. In the new design, okay, you can see how they have this concept of one decision per screen. This allows for very, clear action of what they want you to take. All right, so two different design concepts. So I want to show you this video here that really will take you through the full makeover that Virgin America did. And you can see their different concepts, their concept of one screen, one action. Great design. Let's take a look. All right, so they're on the booking screen. Okay, who's flying? Very large fonts. How many adults? Continue. Now you select your departure date. Again, very large. Return dates. Then you can select the different options that you have for flights. So many different options. You can see the prices. Again, one action, one screen. All right, so a much better journey. It's not all on one page, but one page, having everything on one page is not always better. All right, so great example. All right, next let's take a look at our next tip about how to make sure that you're optimizing for the mobile world. All right, so you need to understand first of all that in the mobile world, or actually in all of internet traffic, 70% of the traffic is going to come from a mobile device. This means that when you're designing a website, you need to think about the mobile experience first. The good news is that most website templates today come with a mobile responsive template. What this means is that the site will adjust to size as you have different devices or you move the screen. So let's take a look. So here's an example of a non-responsive site. Again, I like to show you the bad, unoptimized site first. The layout of the screen is designed for a large desktop or laptop screen, right? You can see, it looks like a normal website on a large PC desktop. On mobile, however, that would not work. The text is too small, as well as some of the photos and features, you can't even see it. You have to zoom in, and then you're losing the entire experience. On the other hand, now we can take a look at mobile responsive sites. So an example of Sizzler, the powerful image is still there. It's just cropped in a way that fits to the screen. And more importantly, is that the title description is in such large font. Find out more. It's very prominent and easy to see. In the case of Burger King, they decided that the menu navigation was more important to the user than the photo. So they put very large font, allowing the user to easily go in a different direction or even go into the app. So in conclusion, if you're going to make the effort to make a website responsive, then it has to be mobile responsive. Then we can just make sure that the mobile experience is the same experience that you'd have on the desktop. All right, next tip. So in this tip, it's extremely important that when you come back to a website, that they remember you. All right, this helps so much. If you're an e-commerce site, if you're a loyalty program, when they come back, they have to remember you. You don't want them to have to re-enter a password. You should already be logged in. People can't remember all the login details, and then they'll just give up. And at the same time, you also want to remember the person after they log in. Let's do something that's personalized. So you can see in this example, they remembered my name, welcome Russell. They even remembered my last order, so I could reorder again right away. Right? So make sure that you use this best practice when possible. All right, tip number 6, creating urgency. So this is very much for the e-commerce world. There's a link here to tactics on how to create urgency, but I'll give you a few examples. So if you're on an e-commerce website, you want to make them think that they have to buy. So here's a good example of a pop-up. You could be browsing, the pop-up can say, someone in New York just bought this, right? So it's this concept of like social proof, or feeling that there's something, someone else is doing it, so you should do it. And another example here, hurry, there's only 8 left in stock. So it's also creating that urgency around stock and the fact that if you don't buy now, you may lose your opportunity. You've probably experienced this before. Agoda.com and the travel sites do this very well. They always mention how many rooms are left. It may not be reality, but it works. So for more tools and tips on how to make that sense and create that sense of urgency, please check out the link that we have here listed above. Tip number 7. It's the last tip, and it's probably the most important. If your site is slow, you will hurt yourself in so many ways. First of all, Google will penalize you in their search rankings. Secondly, the site loads slowly, then it's highly unlikely that the people who click on the ad will even get to your website. If they can't get there within 3 to 5 seconds, they'll just close the browser. So there's several tools that you can use to measure the speed of your site and how fast it loads. And remember, again, you want to worry about your mobile traffic, because 70% of the traffic to your website will come from a mobile device. You can check out this Test My Site with Google and many other tools out there. All right, so those are the 7 tips. That brings us to the end of this concept module. A short exercise for you. And in this module assignment, I want to test your intuition around UX and UI. What do you think, right? I know you're not experts, but maybe you just have common sense. And a lot of the times UX and UI can be common sense. So what I want you to do is select one of these websites, all right, 1112, Delivery, Thai Airways, Hungry Hub, or Verita Life, and provide the feedback as follows. I'm going to answer these questions. Who's the website targeted towards? What's the objective of the website? What does the website do well? Provide at least 3 examples. And then what can be improved about the customer journey, the UX or UI? Please provide at least 3 examples of that. You can put your findings in PowerPoint. You can take a screenshot, put it into PowerPoint, and again, upload it back into Blackboard. All right, best of luck. Hope you enjoyed this module. Welcome to the next module in this session. In this module, we're going to introduce the concept of content personalization and A/B testing. Let's get started. All right, what is content personalization? So content personalization was introduced a bit in the last module, but in the world of e-commerce, this can go much further. Another term to define it is also known as smart content. In simple terms, smart content is content that adapts to the characteristics of the person consuming it. The goal of smart content is to provide a more relevant experience that could otherwise be achieved through static content. In the example above, we can see that they remember my name, Russell. Hi, Russell. But they go even one step further and they make recommendations, different categories, things that they think I'll like. Now, Amazon is the leader in this predictive recommendation space. So let's take a look at how they do it. Let's see how smart content works. So you can see how Amazon uses a combination of a lot of different filters around a person. So they filter the things that they look at. They filter the things that they buy. They also look at what people similar have purchased in addition to those things. So collaborative filtering, user-based filtering, things that they like, comment, share. So it combines all three of these into their algorithm that will ultimately recommend products. Now, Amazon is one of the richest companies in the world. Not everyone has the ability to create such a smart algorithm. So there's other tools out there like CleverTap. CleverTap is a cloud-based predictive tool that will allow you to compete and have the same functionality as an Amazon at a fraction of the cost. So let's take a look at how their content personalization and recommendation engine works.
No matter what kind of customers you serve, they all have one thing in common: sky-high expectations. Customers expect brands to serve a personalized experience in line with their interests and preferences. However, for marketers, keeping up with the ever-evolving expectations has become increasingly difficult, especially when your customers have unique interactions across various touchpoints. Enter engagement with product recommendations. Now, personalize your marketing campaigns with highly relevant product and content recommendations unique to each customer. CleverTap's proprietary data science algorithm automates the what of customer interactions with personalized recommendations that dynamically adapt to customer behavior, buying patterns, and usage trends in real time, so that you can deliver an omni-channel experience across the customer journey to accelerate product and content discovery, boost retention, and increase average order values by cross-sell and upsell opportunities. Schedule a demo and start delivering an amazing customer experience today.
All right, recommendation engine in a box. All right, now I'm going to introduce the concept of A/B testing. First, I want to start by defining what it is. All right. So A/B testing, sometimes called split testing, it's when you're comparing two versions of a web page to see what performs better, or two versions of a creative to see what performs better. You can compare web pages, creatives, different variants. You can show one to customer A, another to customer B, and then you can see which one wins. So in this example, you can see 50-50 went to each variation. You can see what had a higher conversion rate. By now, you all know what conversion rate is, right? We learned that in the past sessions. So this is the concept of A/B testing, showing two different versions to people and seeing which one wins. Okay, so now I want to give you a framework around how you can build different A/B test scenarios. And it all starts with defining what's called the hypothesis. The hypothesis is a theory or assumption that will happen based on a certain rationale. So for example, if we define an if-then statement, we can see how this works into the hypothesis. So if variable A happens, then we expect result B due to the rationale. So this is the framework around hypothesis. Variable A happens, result B happens based on a specific rationale. That's the concept. Now let's put this into practice. We're going to take a look at an example here of a food ordering app from the pizza company. So this is on their checkout page, and we assume that many people will come to the site and they may have a coupon code, they may not have a coupon code. But we have the coupon code box right there on the checkout. So our hypothesis is that by having this code there, it could actually decrease sales. By having this box there, it could decrease sales or slow down the process. Maybe someone was all ready to purchase. They get to the very end and they say, whoa, wait a second, a coupon site? A coupon code? I don't have one. So they may stop and start looking for one and feel cheated. So what if you could hide that coupon code box? So that's essentially our hypothesis. So let's put this example into play. So you see here again, the hypothesis is the variable would be hide the coupon box and the button for general users. We expect this will result in a decrease in the number of drop-offs at checkout or delivery. And the rationale is that this strategy can be effective because by preventing the coupon code from triggering a coupon search, right? Since only those who were sent a coupon would be exposed to the box, that the users will not feel that they're missing out, right? So this is how we can put a hypothesis together, right? And I'm going to have you do your own example of this in the assignment. The last thing I want to show you, though, is a tool that can be used to essentially perform these A/B tests in an automatic way. So there's a company called Optimizely, or a technology called Optimizely, and they allow you to do split test landing pages in an automated way. Let's take a look.
Optimizely is a dramatically easier way to improve your website using A/B testing. I'm going to show you how to quickly begin optimizing your site using Optimizely by building and running an experiment. For this experiment, we'll be using the popular professional networking site, LinkedIn. Let's enter the URL of the page we'd like to optimize and click Test It Out to load it in the Optimizely editor. After loading the page, Optimizely's WYSIWYG visual editor lets you easily begin making changes to any part of the page by pointing and clicking on highlighted elements. As I hover around the page, see how each element is outlined in blue? That means it's editable. Let's build a simple test to try to increase signups. First, let's change the text inside our call to action button that presently says Join Now. By simply clicking on this element, we can edit the text inside to say something else. Let's try Start Networking. We can also easily change the appearance and position of this text or any other element on the page. By clicking on the text and selecting Move and Resize, we can easily move or rearrange its location. We'll name this variation Call to Action Networking. Now, let's create another variation for our test with a shorter sign-up process. Remember, our goal is to increase signups. Maybe more people will sign up if we remove the first name and last name field from this form. To do this, we'll simply click each element and select Remove. To make sure we're selecting the entire form field, we'll use the Select Container menu option. Now I can easily locate and remove the desired elements. Let's also change our text to reflect our shorter sign-up process. We can name this variation Shorter Sign-Up. Great. We're almost ready to launch our simple user signups test. If we want to take our testing further, the Optimizely editor also offers a full jQuery editing console and a wide range of additional features such as targeting and segmentation, traffic allocation, mobile view, analytics integrations, and much more. For now, let's go ahead and get our experiment ready for launch. Since we're trying to optimize for signups, we should create a new click goal to measure the number of people who click the sign up button. We'll click on the element we want to track, then tell Optimizely what we would like to measure for this test. In this case, we'll select a click goal. Let's name our goal Sign Up Clicks and save it. In order to run your experiment and start getting results, all you have to do is copy and paste this single line of Optimizely snippet code into the HTML of your page. This one line of JavaScript is unique to your Optimizely account, and after pasting it once, you'll never have to update or change it when you want to run another test later on. Now, we're ready to launch our test by clicking the Start Experiment button. Once we've started our test, Optimizely will begin to collect data and display results in real time. As visitors come into the experiment, Optimizely will measure the specified goals and the performance of each variation. For each of your goals, Optimizely will provide relevant data such as visitor count, conversions, conversion rate, and improvement. Optimizely will also calculate a confidence rating for each goal. As soon as the test has collected enough data, Optimizely will declare a winner, and you can implement your winning variation with confidence. Now, it's your turn. Enter your URL to test it out for free. Happy testing!
All right, that's Optimizely. So in this module concept assignment, I need you to do the following. I want you to come up with your own A/B test hypothesis. So please just complete this sheet. And again, you can download this PowerPoint slide from the assignments. I want you to take a look at a website, any website, ideally e-commerce, and then just come up with a hypothesis. If you change this, then result will be this, and the rationale is this. And please take a screenshot as well so we can better understand. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Welcome to the next and last module in this session. In this module, we're going to explore a few platforms and tools that will make your life a whole lot easier as you develop your web presence and perfect the customer journey. We've already presented several, including CleverTap, Optimizely, and Google Analytics. Now let's take a look at what I got for you. First thing you have to realize is that when you're building a website, you don't have to build it from scratch. There are more tools available today than ever before, that allow you to build a world-class website at a very low cost. And a few of them are WordPress and Wix. All right, so the link there you have is to WordPress themes. All right. So they have many different themes as low as $25 a month. You buy the theme one time, then they never charge you again. Right? So start there. If you're doing a basic site. Okay, now if you're doing an e-commerce site, it's going to be a little bit different. The most famous platform in the world for this is a company called Shopify. They're designed to help SMEs, individual startups, go online and start selling products right away. And the great thing about Shopify is that they're a one-stop solution for all elements of your e-commerce business. And what this includes is front-end templates, back-end inventory management, payment solutions, web hosting, and more. Their sites can be developed with no code, and you can be up and running in less than an hour. It's ideal for e-commerce businesses that have less than 50 to 100 SKUs or products that you want to sell. Now, if you have a larger e-commerce site with thousands of SKUs, then Shopify may not be powerful enough. In such cases, it'd be better if you use an out-of-the-box platform like Magento. Magento is the world's largest e-commerce platform. Thousands of companies have built their e-commerce business on top of it. The strength is it has a very large backend and content management system designed for e-commerce businesses with many different products. You have a lot of different products, a lot of categories, and a lot of complex features. Then you would need Magento. You can also buy low-cost themes that go on top of Magento. One company that specializes in this is called Theme Forest. You can see all the templates they have developed for e-commerce in this link above. So please refer to that link. All right, so these are tools to help you build your e-commerce platform. All right, now a few tools to help you optimize your journey. One of my favorites is called Hotjar. Haven't you always wanted to know what people do when they visit your site? You mean, stand over their shoulder and watch them as they navigate your site. Wouldn't that be awesome? In the traditional world, this is done through a focus group. We'll invite users in to our office, we'll ask them to complete certain tasks on a website, and we'll watch them as they do this. The problem with this is it can be very expensive and time consuming. But in today's digital world, there's a technology that does this in a much easier way. All you have to do is install the Hotjar code and you're ready to go. Let's see how it works.
Today, most sites are built and improved based on hunches and guesses. But maybe we just don't need to guess anymore. Take Hotjar. Instead of guessing what motivates your users' behavior, you can now see which bits of your site they love, where they click, tap, move, how far they scroll, and what they totally ignore. And by playing videos of your visitors, it's as if you're watching the screen over their shoulder. So you can see what turns them off your site and causes abandonment. But it doesn't end there. You can also ask questions directly to your visitors. Ultimately, this means you can optimize your website's user experience, prioritizing content that needs attention for quick and effective results. Overall, Hotjar's range of features gives you access to solid proof about your users' behavior. So wave goodbye to old-fashioned guesswork. Hotjar, all-in-one analytics and feedback.
really cool. Highly recommend. All right, the very last one I'm going to show you. It's a product called Mixpanel. Now, I showed you in the past Google Analytics, which is great. It's a great product. It's free. Mixpanel goes one step further when it comes to e-commerce analytics and analytics for setting up your funnels and other things. So let's take a quick look at Mixpanel.
Welcome to Mixpanel. Mixpanel is a user analytics tool that makes it easy to understand and engage with your customers, giving you data-driven answers to your most important questions so that you can improve your app, website, or other digital products. Let's take a look at some key features. To start, let's say you want to know what's going on with your business. It doesn't matter if you're an executive or an associate. Dashboards allow you to track specific KPIs, like daily and monthly active users, conversion rates, retention, and loyalty, so that people across your organization can make data-driven decisions. You can also share dashboards with your team, even if they don't have a Mixpanel account. Now, you may want to dive deeper and analyze your product and marketing conversion rates. For that, there's funnels. You can identify where users are dropping off so you can optimize your conversion funnels and improve engagement. But what if you want to dig even deeper? Mixpanel lets you drill down into the actions a user has taken in your product, all in real time. You can group users into cohorts, like first-time users or power users, so that you can identify trends that inform your next roadmap feature, growth experiment, or marketing campaign. But understanding your users is just the beginning. Mixpanel makes it easy to take action to improve engagement too. Let's say you want to drive users to upgrade their plan. Our machine learning model will help by assigning a grade that indicates which users are likely to upgrade. You can then take action by targeting these users directly, with either our messaging tool or by integrating with one that you're already using, so you can nudge users down a path to purchase. That's just a taste of what Mixpanel can do. Just remember to invite your team so that everyone, executives, product managers, and marketers, can start making data-driven decisions. So go ahead.
All right. So in this last module, there's no assignment. All you have to do are the first 4 module assignments. Brings us to the end of this optimizing the customer journey. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was inspiring. I hope you learned a lot. And you can put these best practices to use right away. Thank you so much for joining this session. Please remember to do your assignments, and we'll see you this weekend during the weekly tutorial. Thanks again. Kapkunka. Hello. You made it through another session. Congratulations. Hope you're learning a lot. Please remember to complete the assignment at the end of each module concept and submit that online on Blackboard. Also, we hope to see you this week in the weekly Q&A, where we can answer all of your questions, get your feedback, and continue the learning online in a live session. Thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying.